I grew up in a small neighborhood where everyone knew everyone. Back then, Christmas felt bigger than life. Lights on every house, kids playing outside even in the cold, families cooking late into the night. It was the one time of year when the whole world felt safe. At least that's what I used to think. I was 9 years old the Christmas Eve this happened. And looking back, that night could have changed my life forever. My mom had sent me out to throw some trash into the large community bin near the end of our street. She was busy wrapping gifts and cooking, and I kept begging her to let me help, so she gave me something important to do. It was around 7 p.m., cold but not freezing. Houses were glowing red and green. Kids were still outside, some making small snow piles, some riding scooters. I was alone, holding the plastic bag in one hand and humming a Christmas song. I remember feeling proud because I thought I was being responsible, like a big kid. The bin was maybe a 2-minute walk from our house. Nothing felt wrong, nothing even felt strange. Until I heard a car. A slow-moving white van rolled past me. Nothing special about it, rust on the sides, no windows on the back. I didn't think twice. Lots of people used vans for decorations and deliveries during Christmas week, but the van didn't keep driving. It stopped about 20 meters ahead, not like a normal stop, more like the driver hesitated, waited, listened. I stood for a second watching the exhaust coming out of the tailpipe. That's when the side door slid open. A man leaned halfway out of the van. Big coat, dark beanie. I couldn't see his face clearly. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He just said, "Hey, come here for a second." I didn't move. I wasn't stupid. Even at 9, I knew when something felt wrong. I started backing up just a little, clutching the trash bag. The man tried again, but louder. "Hey, it's okay. I know your dad. He sent me to pick you up." My heart started pounding, not because of what he said, but because he said my name next. Not a nickname, my full name. He said it perfectly. Everything inside me screamed run, but I was frozen. My legs felt heavy like they didn't want to move. He stepped one foot out of the van. Then he said something else. "Come on, your mom said your gift is at my place. She wants you to get it now before the stores close." He shouldn't have known anything about my parents. He shouldn't have known my name. And he definitely shouldn't have known anything about gifts. I took one step backward, then another. He took another step forward, more aggressive this time. "Boy," I said, "come here." His voice changed completely. No friendliness, no softness, just anger, like he was done pretending. That was the moment my legs decided to work again. I threw the trash bag on the ground and ran. I didn't even think, I just ran. I heard the van door slam open wider. I heard quick footsteps on the pavement. I heard the man curse loudly, but I didn't look back. I knew if I did, I would slow down even for a second and he would catch me. The houses were blurring past me. My lungs were burning. My hands were freezing, but I kept running. When I reached our front gate, I screamed for my mom. I screamed so loud my throat hurt. She rushed out, confused and startled, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel. Before I could speak, the white van sped past our house, way faster than it should have been going on a quiet street. No headlights, just darkness. My mom realized something was wrong and pulled me inside, locking the door behind us. I was shaking so hard I could barely explain. When I finally did, she went pale. She called my dad, then the police, then a neighbor. By the time officers came around, the van was long gone, and no one else had seen it. For weeks after that, my parents wouldn't let me walk anywhere alone, not even to our mailbox. They didn't tell me everything back then, just that some bad people target kids during the holidays because families are distracted and streets are a bit busier. But I learned something later that made everything make sense. A man had been driving around our area that month, pretending to be a friend of families, picking up names, schedules, small details. He never broke into houses. He never caused loud trouble. He just watched, listened, waited for the right moment. A few kids had reported someone calling their name from a van, but no one had seen the man clearly, and no one had been taken yet. I don't know if that same man was the one who tried to take me. I don't know how he learned my name or how he knew I was out alone for 2 minutes. Maybe he had been watching the whole street. Maybe he followed me earlier without me noticing. Sometimes bad people pay attention more than we think. I'm grown now. I'm not afraid of vans or even afraid of walking alone. but I never forgot how a simple errand almost changed everything. And every year when Christmas Eve comes around, my mom still asks me the same question. Do you need anything from outside? If yes, I'll come with you. She says it lightly, like a joke, but we both know the reason. I bet she still remembers that night as much as I do. Christmas Eve has always been a quiet night for me. I'm not a big party person, and I don't come from a loud family. Most years I just stay home, watch something old on TV, and wait for midnight so I can call my parents. But last Christmas Eve, I had something happen that made me rethink how safe a quiet night really is. I live alone in a small duplex in a calm neighborhood. Nothing fancy, just a simple street where most people keep to themselves. On Christmas Eve, almost every house was dark by 8. Most of my neighbors traveled for the holidays, so the area was extra quiet. I remember that night clearly. The living room was warm, the heater humming softly, the Christmas tree lights were on. I had a bowl of popcorn on my lap and an old Christmas movie playing in the background. Everything felt peaceful. Around 9:30 p.m., I paused the movie to walk to the kitchen for something to drink. As I passed the window over the sink, I noticed something outside, a delivery van parked across the street. Nothing strange about that at first. Delivery drivers work late during Christmas week. But there were two things odd about this one. The van wasn't parked in front of anyone's house. The headlights were off, but the engine was still running. I watched it for a moment, waiting to see if someone would get out. No one did. So I shrugged it off and went back to my movie. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. I jumped a little, not because the sound scared me, but because no one ever visits me unannounced, especially not this late on Christmas Eve. I walked to the hallway and checked the small camera screen above my door. It was old and grainy, but clear enough to make out shapes. A man stood on my porch wearing a delivery uniform. Dark jacket, matching cap, a clipboard in one hand, big box in the other. He was smiling. For a moment I relaxed. I thought maybe my parents sent me a surprise gift. They sometimes did that. Or maybe a friend ordered something without telling me. I pressed the intercom button. Hello? The man looked directly at the camera. Delivery for you, he said. Christmas package. I need a signature. Friendly voice, calm tone, nothing strange, except one thing. There was no company logo on his jacket. Delivery companies always have logos, at least on the chest or the cap. His clothes were completely plain. I leaned closer to the camera. Who's it from? I asked. He lifted the box a little. It doesn't say. Probably a gift. I need your signature to leave it. He shook the clipboard gently. My stomach tightened. The box had no label, no tape, no stickers, nothing. Just a plain cardboard box. I didn't open the door. Something felt off. I pressed the intercom again. Sorry, what company are you with? He paused for a second, then said, Seasonal Delivery Service. That wasn't a company. That was something you say when you don't have a real answer. I stayed quiet. The man smiled again, but it didn't look friendly this time. It looked forced. Then he said something that made me step back from the door. Look, I've been delivering all day. I'm tired. Just open the door so I can give you the package. His tone changed, annoyed now. I didn't respond. He stepped closer to the door, too close to the camera, so I could only see part of his face. You're alone, right? He said softly. I felt the hairs on my neck rise. This man wasn't here to deliver anything. I didn't answer him. He waited a few seconds, then knocked, slow, heavy knocks. Then he said, Ma'am? I'm a man. That's when I knew he wasn't here for me specifically. He was just trying to get inside whatever house opened the door. I stepped quietly backwards and reached into my pocket for my phone. While I was unlocking it, I heard the man speak again. If you don't open, I have to come back, and we don't want delays on Christmas Eve. He said it like a threat. My hands were shaking a little as I opened the camera feed for my backyard, just in case he tried going around. He was still at the front door, still holding that box, still pretending. I called the police, not emergency, just the regular line. And while the phone was ringing, I watched something on the screen that made my heart drop. The man put the box down. Then he reached into his jacket, and pulled out a flat metal tool. Not a weapon, a lock-picking tool. He crouched down and slid it toward my doorknob. That plain delivery box was just a prop. I stepped back slowly, staying out of view of the narrow window to the right of the door. I whispered into the phone, telling the operator exactly what was happening. The operator told me to stay on the line. The man outside continued trying the tool on the lock, gently, quietly, like he'd done it many times before. I heard a faint click from the doorknob, not the locking kind, the almost unlocked kind. I swallowed hard. At that moment, I just wished I had a weapon. The operator said, "Officers are on the way. Don't speak. Don't move. Don't open anything." I stayed frozen. Then the man stopped working on the lock. The camera showed him looking left, then right, like he heard something. But it wasn't the cops. It was my neighbor across the street. An older man named Harris had stepped outside to throw a bag of trash away. A completely normal moment. Perfect timing. The second the disguise guy heard the trash can bang shut, he grabbed his fake package, stood up straight, and quickly walked off the porch. He didn't run. He didn't act suspicious. He walked like a real delivery worker heading back to his van. But I watched him closely on the camera as he stepped into the streetlight. The delivery uniform looked totally weird. The sleeves were too long. The jacket didn't fit. The cap was crooked. And his shoes weren't work shoes. They were old running shoes. He walked fast toward the van across the street. But here's the part that shocked me. He didn't put the box inside the van. He threw it into the bushes, like trash, like it didn't matter at all. He got into the van, started it, and drove away slowly, careful not to look out of place. The officers arrived a few minutes later. They checked the bushes and found the fake package. It was completely empty. Just a cardboard box with nothing inside. One of the officers tried the doorknob and said, "You're lucky. He didn't finish the job." They watched the camera footage, and the first thing the officer said was, "These guys go door to door before Christmas. They count on people expecting deliveries. Uniforms are fake, badges are fake. Sometimes they even have fake logos." He asked me the usual questions, told me to upgrade my lock, and left. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Not because I was scared, but because I kept thinking how normal everything looked at first. A delivery guy on Christmas Eve, a package, a clipboard. It was the perfect disguise. I don't usually talk about this night because it still feels strange to explain. It's not anything supernatural, just the kind of human danger that hides under normal things. And Christmas makes everything look harmless. That's probably why I let my guard down. It happened 3 years ago, on Christmas Eve. I was driving home after visiting my sister. It was around 9 p.m. Snow had been falling since morning, soft at first, then heavier as the day went on. By the time I got on the road, the wind was blowing sideways and the highway was almost empty. Most cars were already parked somewhere warm, lights on, families inside, ready for Christmas morning. Me, I just wanted to get home, put on a movie, and sleep through the holiday. About an hour into the drive, the storm picked up. My wipers were moving like crazy, but I still couldn't see more than 10 meters ahead. Everything was white. Even the road markers disappeared under the snow. At one point, my phone vibrated with a weather alert, but I didn't bother reading it. I was already halfway home. Turning back made no sense. I told myself I'd be fine. A few minutes later, I saw red taillights through the snow. The car in front of me was slowing down, then turning right onto a narrow road I didn't even know existed. I checked my map. The GPS screen was blank blue everywhere except the main highway line. No side road, but the snow was getting insane, and following another car felt safer than being alone on the open highway. Maybe they knew the area better. Maybe this was some kind of local shortcut. My brain gave me that little push. Just follow them. People live here. It's fine. So I turned too. The narrow road felt different. No streetlights. No houses. Just tall, bare trees bending from the wind. My tires slipped more than once, and I kept seeing the red taillights ahead fade and reappear through the snow curtain like a warning sign I wasn't smart enough to read. But turning back felt dangerous. The road was too thin to make a safe U-turn without sliding into a ditch. So I kept going. After maybe 10 minutes, the taillights ahead suddenly vanished. 1 second they were there, the next, gone. I slowed down and scanned the area, but the snow was too thick. No car, no tracks, no sign of anything. Just white and quiet. My stomach tightened. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't explain it yet. I kept driving forward, hoping the road would bring me back to the main street. Instead, it brought me to a house. The road ended at a long driveway leading to a 2-story cabin with a green roof and Christmas lights hanging across the porch. They flickered from the wind, glowing weak orange through the snow. Every window was dark. The place looked old, not broken or abandoned, just forgotten. The kind of house that should have a chimney smoking on Christmas Eve. But nothing. Not a single sign of life. I pulled my car as close as I could without entering the driveway. I didn't want to trespass, just turn around. But the road was too narrow, and the snow was too deep. I realized I had only one option: knock on the door and ask to use their driveway to turn my car around. I sat there for a few seconds, engine running, and gave myself a pep talk. People are nice on Christmas. Just ask. Quick in, quick out. I put my jacket on, stepped into the snow, and walked toward the porch. The moment my boots touched the first step, I felt something strange under the snow, like the wood was cracked or uneven. Not enough to break through, but definitely weak. I stepped carefully. I knocked on the door. No answer. I waited, knocked again, louder. Still nothing. But something else caught my attention. The Christmas lights. They weren't plugged into any outdoor outlet. They were hanging there, glowing faintly, but there was no visible power source. No cable running to a window. Nothing. Maybe they were battery powered. Maybe the cable was buried under the snow. I told myself not to overthink it. I knocked a third time. This time the door creaked open on its own, just a few inches. "Hello," I called out. No answer, only the wind. I didn't want to go inside, but I also didn't want to stand outside freezing. So I pushed the door a little farther and stepped into the entryway. Not inside the house, just in the small front hall where people leave their boots. "Hello? I'm stuck in the snow. I just need to turn my car around," I said. Still silence. Then I noticed something. There were boots lined up neatly against the wall. 3 pairs. 2 adult pairs, 1 child size. But the boots were wet, freshly wet, melted snow around them. Someone had come home recently. So where were they? I was about to step back out when I heard something further inside the house. Not a voice, not movement, just a soft, rhythmic tapping, like someone drumming their fingers on wood. I froze. The sound came from somewhere in the back, maybe the kitchen or living room area. I called out again, "Hello?" The tapping stopped immediately. My heart started pounding, and I reached for the door to leave. But before I could pull it open, a voice came from deeper in the house. A man's voice. "Hold on," he said. The voice was steady but weirdly slow, almost gentle. "I'll be right there." Everything in me said leave. That voice didn't sound surprised or confused. It sounded like he was expecting me. The tapping started again, only faster now. I took a step back, ready to run for my car. The man spoke again, clearer this time. "You lost?" Something about his tone made the hair on my neck rise. It didn't sound friendly. It sounded entertained. I didn't answer. I just pushed the door open and stepped outside. That's when I heard fast footsteps rushing toward the front of the house. Someone was coming. I didn't look back. I bolted toward my car, slipping on the snow but catching myself. My hands shook as I fumbled with the door handle. I could hear the house door swing wide open behind me. I didn't want to turn around, but I did. Just once. A tall man stood in the doorway. No coat, no shoes, just a long-sleeved shirt and dark pants. His feet were bare on the snow-covered porch, and he was smiling. Not a friendly smile, just a slow, stretched smile like he was studying me. I jumped into my car and locked the doors. He didn't move toward me. He just stood there watching. But then I saw something that made my blood turn cold. Behind him, deeper inside the house, someone else was standing. A woman. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stood in the dark hallway, barely visible, watching too. I didn't wait for anything else. I floored the gas pedal, even though the road in front of me was narrow and full of snow. My car skidded sideways before gripping enough snow to move forward. As I drove away, my headlights lit up the trees, and for a second, I thought I saw a third person. A small figure near the side of the house. maybe the child who owned the boots, but I didn't slow down to check. The drive back felt longer, like the road didn't want to end. But eventually the snow thinned, the wind calmed, and I reached a main street I recognized. The moment I hit the main road, my GPS woke up again. Maps returned, signals returned. I checked the map for that side road. Nothing. I zoomed in, still nothing. Just forest, no house, no road, no winter road. Nothing. It didn't exist on any map. I drove straight home and didn't go out again until the storm was completely over. A week later, curiosity got the best of me. I didn't want to go back there, not even close, but I searched for green roof cabin, Christmas lights, forest area near highway, along with the region. I found nothing at first, but on a local discussion forum, under a thread about missing people, someone mentioned an old house in the woods where a couple was rumored to lure travelers during snowstorms. Actual criminals. A man and woman. The stories weren't detailed, and nothing officially proved it. The house was never found again after a big storm years ago. Some said it collapsed, some said the couple left, some said there was never a house, just rumors. But one comment stood out. Someone wrote, "They used to put Christmas lights on the porch so lost drivers would think someone friendly was home." That part matched exactly. I never reported what happened. I don't even know what I'd tell the police. All I know is this. On Christmas Eve, I turned onto a road that didn't exist, and there was a house waiting at the end. Not haunted, just people. People who did not expect me to run. I don't take unknown roads anymore. I don't follow random cars in a storm. And every time I see Christmas lights on a lonely porch, I keep my head up and I keep driving.